Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. We are on to our 7th reading slot. And right now we have KD Williamson and we have MA Binfield. So hi guys, thank you for coming. We're going to start with KD Williamson. So if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your book, that would be amazing.
I'm KD. I write romance with usually a lot of comedy, a lot of speed, realism, that kind of thing. And I'm going to be reading from my latest book, Big Girl Pill, which contains all that actually. And just to set it up a little bit, this is about in the middle of the book. And the whole book pretty much is about these two main characters coming into their own. Individually, within family, within themselves, things of that nature. I like to create really extensive side characters as well. And this section that I'm reading is including a conversation with a side character who coincidentally is going to be the main character in the book I'm working on. Nina stopped at a red light near the Western North Carolina Agricultural Center and looked out at the mountain range in the distance. Clouds hung low, making the view haunting but beautiful. Rachel stared at her. Nina felt it. She glanced toward her anyway, and Rachel's expression was expectant. That's it. I told you he did. Okay, but you're way too calm. The whole time you were talking, it sounded like you were reading a book in a robot voice. Someone behind them honked a horn. The light had turned green. Nina lurched her car forward. You know I'm not an emotional person. Rachel let out a sharp laugh. That is utter bullshit, and I bet you Maya would say the same. That's bullshit again. Drew is the man you're supposed to love and who you're planning to marry. Maya is your best friend who you fucked. You're supposed to be affected by the first situation a lot more, since he's supposed to be your husband, the guy you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Do you even love him? She tightened her grip on the steering wheel. She cared about him, and her mother approved of him, which equated to no conflict or confrontation. And until recently, they had never argued. She valued his guidance in some instances, and he always seemed to have her best interests at heart. A decent mutual attraction somehow stemmed from all that. They seemed to fit, and he agreed. When he proposed, he said those exact words, we fit. He never said, I love you. There'd been no fanfare, no need built. They've been sitting at her dining room table, eating scrambled cheese eggs loaded with paprika. I'm gonna go with no. You're taking way too long to answer, Rachel said. I care, he's a sweet man who wants to lead you around by the nose. I've been dropping hints about him forever, but I hope like hell you see it for yourself. They came to another red light, and Nina turned her head to meet Rachel's gaze. Oh shit, you knew what he was about, didn't you? All this time, and you went along with it. God, Nina, I'm not trying to shame you. I know some women want that, but you're you. Look where you come from. Your mom doesn't take shit. Hell, she invents shit to kick out of the way. I won't even get into how she treats you. Nina looked out the windshield at the traffic speeding past. Her mother's words, actions, and demands had a way of wearing her down until she felt tiny and exposed, like a bug scampering away from a boot. Appeasement lessened this effect, but didn't extinguish it. She wasn't sure anything would, but it made life bearable. Going on with things seemed like the better alternative. The light green. Rachel snorted. I don't think you really believe that anymore. Otherwise, you wouldn't have kicked Drew out. But I guess dealing with your mother is a different story altogether. You've only known Drew for a couple of years, which probably made things easier. But your mom has been there all your life. Nina said. She didn't even want to think about her mother now. Have you talked to her yet? Does she know about this? No, I told her last night, but I told her last night that I'll call her after I pick you up from the airport. She's gonna be pissed that he upset you so much. I guarantee it. As if someone had slammed on her car brakes, Nina's thoughts about Drew and their predicament came to a screeching halt as her mind turned to Maya. can I tell you something? She took a quick glance at Rachel before looking back at the road to merge onto the interstate. I'm not trying to change the subject or anything. Okay. Rachel drew the word out. Something you can talk to Maya about? Yeah, I didn't want to hopes up because things have been going so well between us. Well, don't leave me like this. Spit it out. I had a reaction. She cringed because I mean to sound so detached and clinical. To what? Gluten? No, to two women kissing. You watch porn? Rachel's voice went up. Christ, Rachel, no, I saw it in person. What? They asked you to join in? Nina stared at her. What? I'm being very clear. I was at a restaurant and I saw them kissing and I felt something. As in turned on, I was getting there, yes. She snorted. Oh, holy shit, that didn't take long. What didn't take long? For your vegetative clue. She was practically crowing. What's that supposed to mean? Let's say it knows where it's wanted. Probably always it is on you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, KD. That was great. I tell you what really amused me in the last, in the last panel was the fact that until now everything's been very mediocre and language-wise, you know, nobody's done
not for me
or anything like that, and suddenly you come on and we're assholing 3 times in a minute, and it's excellent.
I don't apologize at all.
Absolutely, you should not. It adds spark and flair to our panels. It's fantastic. So yeah, I have only read Pink, I think, from your repertoire of books. When did Big Girl Pill or Big Girl's Pill come out?
Big Girl Pill. It came out December last year.
Okay, cool. So it's been out a little while. And is it a romance?
It is, very much so.
Awesome. Cool. Is it, I read that it's a second chance romance?
Kind of, yeah, it kind of sort of is. I think it's a mishmash of your toaster oven type romance and a second chance thing. And
what drew you to those kind of tropes?
Well, I used to write fic like in another life. And there was like this huge fanfic I had written with kind of like the same theme of 2 best friends, the main character's getting married and the other best friend has feelings, and the one that's getting married eventually learns that feelings too, and it ends up being, you know, kind of mess, you know. They kind of discovered themselves that they kind of come together. So I was like, oh, you know, what if I put this in like, you know, a real book and kind of made the characters younger? Because I think, no offense to anybody in their 20s, as somebody that's turning 48, you know, this year, I remember being in my 20s and I remember things being messy and emotional and not admitting who I was or, you know, what was going on. So I think all of that pretty much in the book.
Excellent. I like that it came from kind of an idea you'd had for a while and also a bit of personal experience. That's a good place to come from. Michelle, have you got any questions for KD?
I suppose, I mean, does it have to be about this book or just in general? In general, I suppose, yeah, what's your favourite books of yours and why would that be? I mean, I suppose you feel like you should pick this one because you're reading from it. Maybe it is your favorite, but
no, actually, I would say if I were to make a list of what I've written, I would put Pink at number 1, simply because it was a foray into something new, and I think of that as a very powerful book of exploring breakups and finding your way again, you know, and on all the nastiness it contains, you know. So I rate that as number 1. Number 2, I put the book I'm working on right now. You know, then blurred lines. Blurred lines used to be my favorite, but the more I wrote, it kind of went down there. So
interesting. We were talking we were talking just before we got started about that, like that you sometimes feel like you have to dumb things down, and there's a temptation to do that, and it's absolutely great. I don't know that we believe that readers can handle dark moments, breakups, bad language, sort of the nitty gritty of life, because everyone's gone through it. I think to one extent or another. Not many of us.
Exactly. I don't feel a need to kind of gloss over that. I mean, out of anger or every conversation, I believe in writing dialogue and everything, that the way people speak. I mean, so I don't see anything wrong with it. And like you said, I mean, I like a little grit, a little gravitas. I mean, not to denigrate anything else, but market for everything, I think.
Yeah, so it's a good point. I think dumbing down fiction, especially when we're dealing with kind of harrowing or quite upsetting issues and occurrences, I think it gives the readers a disservice. I think it's a bit kind of, I don't like the patronizing kind of element of that. I think we need to trust that readers can handle stuff.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, in the world of lesbian romance, or in the world of romance, period, at the end of the day, everything should be tied up in a nice little bow, and everybody's happy, so to speak. I don't necessarily believe in that. I mean, I don't. Even though the main characters, kind of tie things up, in the end, I tend to write side stories for side characters as well, and they don't always pan out. I mean, sometimes people don't change; they just stay the way they are. Sometimes things are just not resolved.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to have those kind of elements of real life, isn't it? Because not everything is tied up in a beautiful little bow at the end of somebody's story. It could be that somebody else's story hasn't finished yet, or it just hasn't worked out generally.
Exactly. I agree with you totally. Yeah.
I need a happy ending though. I'm just saying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Me too. Get me wrong.
I just throw my toys out the pram, and sometimes I get to the end of a book and I'm like, really? You did that.
So we have a question from Serena J. Bishop, who was on.
Hi, Serena.
Hey. So what celebrities should we picture for your main characters?
In Big Girl Pill? I had somebody in mind, and I do not remember their names. I hate it when that happens, but I have, like, for the side character for Rachel, who's like going to be my main character, I've always envisioned, since we were talking about True Blood, the woman who played Queen Sophie. What is her name?
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about?
I know you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, her as Rachel. I've envisioned maybe. I don't know if everybody knows who this Nia Long, maybe a younger version of her as Maya. And Venus, I don't know. I think she could be a hodgepodge of a lot of people. I envision her, when I thought about how she would look, I envision her as the woman who from Mad Men, the nice curvy one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how I envision her.
Very curvy, yeah.
Yeah, so she would, Christina something, I can't remember her last name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she would, if I would think she would be the woman who played Nina, definitely.
She's beautiful. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I never did before. I always had a photo of somebody that I was writing, but recently, it's I've picked out kind of certain actresses that I would be like, yeah, that's who would play so and so.
Not just an excuse to look at pictures of beautiful actresses while you write.
I know, right?
Yeah, that too. I mean, it's good because I have a really shit memory, So if I've got a photo of somebody, I can go back to the photo and go, oh yeah, they have got blue eyes, or oh yeah, they have got shoulder length hair, or whatever.
Yeah. And to be honest, this was the first book I used kind of like those visual cues. I mean, you know, they already told me what they wanted to look like, but, you know, I kind of needed a clearer picture, you know, and I was just like, okay, you know, okay, that I can see that, I can fit.
Excellent. Well, it's interesting talking about like what characters look like, because I think some people have quite visual brains, don't they? And they can, when they read, they can see the person, and some people don't have that, and they read the words and the story comes out in their heads. So it's interesting to find out how authors write and whether they write in a visual way or not. What are you writing at the moment?
Nothing at the moment. I'm a little blocked, but the book that I have been working on is a follow-up to this one. I'm using the main, Rachel as the main character in this book. She's the cousin who kind of helps Nina along, I guess you could say, but she was just such a big personality and complicated that I wanted to explore her more. I mean, you know, she kind of, when I first started writing her, she kind of, I was like, oh, I don't want her to be like a one note type character. So the more scenes I put her in, the more scenes she stole. So I was just like, okay, she's too big to be a side character. I want to know more about her. I want to know how she would be in a relationship. I want to know how she would be at work, in a community, you know, and after, you know, pretty soon she started talking to me again. So I was just like, okay, I could see this coming, you know, and so that's what I'm exploring now. You know, she's just too big just to go out as a side character. You know, I want her to be happy and find that person. And she's the type of woman who needs an equal, you know, somebody who can kind of, you know, meet her here and even go past here, you know, to get to what's inside, so to speak. She's not an ice queen by any means, but she just needs, you know, a little something, you know, so to speak.
Excellent. All good stuff. All good stuff. It's nice to hear what people are doing. Michelle, MA Binfield, it's your turn to do a reading, so take it away. If you want to give us a little bit of a kind of intro into what the book's about. And then
I will, yeah, I will do that. Thank you. Thanks, Jen. So I don't have my books yet, even though the book's out on December the 1st. So here's a picture, because I'm a framer, so I framed the cover. The book is called Not This Time. It's out on December the 1st, and it's, I guess, what you call a second chance romance. I like to write sort of slow burn, kind of angsty romances. And this is a second chance romance. It's set in Miami. Two characters, Sophia and Maddie. They used to be in a girl band together in their 20s. And it all ended badly. You find out if you read the book. And then we fast forward 5 years. And they meet again. So Sophia is still in the music business. She's a big star. She's very closeted. She's got a fake boyfriend called Noah. And Maddie has left the business. She has a son, Matteo, who's 3, and she's reinvented herself. She's doing interior design. And the universe throws them together at Sophia's beach house, which she needs redesigning. So it's sweet, it's kind of slow burn, second chance, the dollop of girl band thrown in. So I'm going to read a scene that happens probably about a third of the way into the book. They've reacquainted themselves. It's still kind of awkward between them. There's lots of feelings not expressed, not acted on, but just old feelings from before. Sophia felt the wave of panic moments before it hit. She leaned forward, putting her head down closer to her knees, taking in breaths as deeply as she could. Her chest felt like it was folding in two, and her heart was racing, the sound of it whooshing in her ears. Maddie shuffled closer, and Sophia felt Maddie's hand on her back as she began to stroke it from the top of her spine to the bottom and back up again. She tried to focus on the feel of it, on the up and down movement, to breathe in time with the stroke. Maddie took her other hand and turned it over so that it was palm up on her thigh. She began the same rhythmic stroking movement, tracing her fingers from the center of Sophia's palm, up her wrist and back again. Breathe, Sophie, just breathe. It's okay. It's all okay. Despite the pulsing in her head, she could hear Maddie telling her over and over that it was going to be all right. Sophia had had panic attacks back when they'd been together in the band, and Maddie was doing everything she'd done then to calm her down. Slowly, she felt the crushing feeling in her chest lessen. Her breathing became easier, and her vision and hearing cleared. She concentrated on the feel of Maddie's fingers on her hand and wrist, as she kept murmuring reassurances. It's settling, but please don't stop. Sophia managed to squeeze out the words, wanting Maddie to know that what she was doing was working. Maddie kept on, and Sophia felt the tension, the panic, slowly slipping away. She felt able to lift her head and look at Maddie. Thank you. It's okay. Maddie's eyes contained tenderness, and Sophia felt the warmth of it through her body. Maddie moved position to lie down on the couch, and Sophia felt the loss of her touch like a chill. Come here. Maddie patted the space next to her. Sophia didn't hesitate. She lay down side by side with Maddie on the couch. The panic had left her body, and now she just felt tired and fragile. Turn on your side. Sophia did as Maddie asked. The remaining tension in her body drained away completely as Maddie pressed herself along the length of her back, reaching her arm across Sophia's body and taking hold of her hand, this time stroking it softly with her thumb. Sophia nestled herself against Maddie, wanting to get as close as she could. Just relax. Sleep if you can, just for a little while. Maddie murmured into her ear, her lips pressed close enough for Sophia to feel the words as well as hear them. Matteo? He's okay. He's just watching his cartoons. Again, Sophia felt the welcome vibration of the words as Maddie's lips brushed her ear as she spoke. Just relax, baby. Sophia relaxed into the feeling of Maddie's body pressed against her, at the wonder of Maddie calling her baby. She could feel the in and out movement of Maddie's chest against her back, the gentle grip of her fingers. She was alive to all of it. Lying together like this felt strangely familiar for something they hadn't done for so long. And Sophia couldn't stop her senses from responding to Maddie's touch. She willed her body to calm down. The panic attacks she'd had in the past were when she was overloaded and not facing up to things. And Maddie had always been the one who helped her figure out exactly where the stress was coming from. This time, though, Maddie couldn't help. Sophia had to find a way to end it with Noah and tell Maddie she'd been lying about him all along for the sake of her career. She'd always told herself that the lie wouldn't harm anyone, but she didn't expect Maddie to understand or to approve. She felt her chest tighten again. Do you want to talk about where that came from? Maddie spoke softly. No, it might help. This is helping. This is what I need. She pulled Maddie's arm around her, wanting the closeness. Sophie, I thought you, of all people, might guess, Maddie, that I wouldn't have to spell it out. I mean, we never labelled ourselves when we were together, what we were, what we weren't. It was irreverent, the alcohol mixed with the panic still buzzing in her brain, and Sophia couldn't get the word out. I guess when we were together, it didn't matter what I was, and it shouldn't matter now either. But I just don't want to tell lies anymore, especially not to you. She stopped, scared to say it, even with the alcohol. It wasn't just the confidentiality agreement she'd signed. She thought Maddie would think the fact that she was still pretending was ridiculous and pathetic. I don't understand, Sophie. Noah's not a bad guy. He's annoying sometimes, but he understands the business, the life I lead. She was still stalling. that's not my point. He isn't. The chime of the doorbell sounded throughout the house. Sophia and Maddie both sat up. Matteo, startled by the noise, jumped off the chair and went to Maddie. She pulled him into her lap as Sophia went to answer the door. As soon as she opened it, the photographers began their chorus of shouts, their cameras clicking and whirring. Noah reached for her and wrapped her in a big hug on the doorstep. She felt his lips on hers and she pushed at his chest, but his grip was too strong. In a shameful corner, somewhere deep in her brain, she registered the fact that they were being photographed, and she stopped fighting him. But even with the alcohol, one thing was clear. His kiss was not the kiss she wanted. He broke the embrace, put an arm around her waist, and steered her into the house, slamming the door behind them. Sophia let him lead her, not quite believing his timing. "What are you doing here?" He ignored her. "I need a key, you know. I shouldn't have to ring the bell and wait for my girlfriend to let me in. It's not very convinced." Noah stopped talking as he caught sight of Maddie, now standing with Matteo in her arms next to the armchair. Despite the awkwardness, the insane mess of it all, Sophia couldn't help but be attracted to her. She remembered the feel of her fingers brushing her cheek, her breasts pushed against her back just moments ago. The arousal flooded her senses. She really was losing her grip on reality. Noah looked from her to Maddie and back again. Madison Martin. He said Maddie's name in a way that sounded like an accusation. "Well, I definitely wasn't expecting to see you here." That's it.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Comedy and then drama.
The doorbell ringing.
Yeah, that as well.
It works.
Yeah.
I could listen to you read like all day, actually.
Yeah, you've got a really chilled, calming, nice voice.
You were going to have a nap. Don't say that.
No,
I was bored.
it's very smooth. I like it.
Yeah, smooth is a good word. So I like that. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. So music is a big theme in your book. Your characters come from a girl band. Why did you choose that theme? And do you play an instrument?
I thought you were going to ask me, have I ever been in a girl band, which would have been a great question.
Have you ever been in a girl band?
I haven't ever been. Surprisingly enough, I have not been in a girl band ever. I don't know, actually. I'm a little bit obsessed by girl bands, I hate to admit. So from the Spice Girls, I mean, you know what? Even before that, if you go back before the Spice Girls, they were like the first
The Runaways.
Exactly. They were always girl bands, and they were always brilliant. And I think that for me, there was something just too appealing about the idea of two closeted girl band members being together with the world watching and having no idea. And I just got really interested in that as a if you want to call it a trope, whatever that is. That idea that we ship people, you know, that shouldn't be together, but we want them to be, and we watch their interactions and we think that means that they like each other, but you know, that kind of thing. So I just got really into that, yeah. And it's super not very trendy, but for a year when I was about 11, I played the cello really badly.
Don't ever say that. My mother would kill you. She was taught the cello for 6 years. In fact, my dad's just started watching.
I grew up pretty poor. It was hard to get the cello on the bus to get to school in the morning. I kept thinking I was going to break it, and I don't think I ever progressed past Three Blind Mice in my memory. It wasn't successful. Let's just call my cello career unsuccessful. Draw a line. Yeah.
Well, at least it's something. KD, have you got any questions for Michelle?
Kind of, sort of. I liked the idea of a second chance romance, of course. But I liked how you explored the closeness that used to be between them, how you brought it in that scene. So question is, throughout, like when they meet again, is it just like and I don't want to give too much of the book away, obviously, but is it like that that thing where you haven't seen somebody in years, and then when you see them, it's like you just saw them yesterday?
Yeah, Yeah,
I liked it. It fits that book. The part you read, it really fits that
yeah,
book.
I mean, they haven't seen each other for 5 years, so there's a prologue to the book, which is kind of an interesting prologue. I mean, it's got a great sex scene in that prologue too. I feel like giving it away so early, that sex scene, I was like a little bit reluctant. But there's a scene with them when they're in the band together just before it all goes wrong. And then 5 years later, they meet each other. Yeah. And it is that moment where this is the person that you thought was the love of your life, and circumstances conspired to mean that didn't happen. So when you get back together, there's all the reasons why you aren't together, which are bad ones, and trying to overcome all of that history. But then the feelings are there, like that person, you know them, they know you. From the minute you see them again, you feel the vibration of their presence. But yeah, that doesn't mean it's easy to get together just because you feel it. But yeah, it was nice to write, actually.
So we have a question from Bev Joy. Do you think the majority of people read fiction to escape and want a happy ending? Certainly.
I hope so. I mean, for me, I do, actually. I mean, life is life, isn't it? And I love losing myself in something that's impossibly romantic, and where eventually barriers dissolve, even if, like with KD, a slow burn, it takes a goodly while, you know. So I think life right now is pretty tough for most people on the planet, isn't it? We're not living the life that we thought we'd live in 2020. And I think being able to escape into good fiction, whether it's romantic, fantasy, a mystery, you know, whatever it is that's your bag, I think we need it now, don't we? More than ever. I mean, I certainly do.
Yeah, definitely.
Fiction is an escape for me. I love to lose myself for a day, or for as long as it might take me to, you know, binge on a book. You know.
I do that with TV. One of those
annoying. Oh, really? Yeah.
I do read.
I don't have a TV. Sorry. I deliberately got rid of my TV when Trump got elected. So.
Interesting.
It was too difficult to watch.
At all.
I don't have a TV now. I mean, nowadays you can watch a lot of TV on your laptop.
To be fair, it's very rare that we watch anything live.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all Netflix or iPlayer or whatever.
Yeah, I watch those things. Yeah. I just watched Miss America. If you're looking for a recommendation, it was superb. Kate Blanchett. Okay. Yeah.
Miss America.
Miss America. Yeah, it's about Phyllis Schlafly and Shirley Chisholm and Gloria Steinem, about the wave of feminism in the 70s. Superb. Yeah.
Okay. Serena J. Bishop has arrived again, and she says, since the Spice Girls came up, who's your favourite Spice Girl, Michelle?
It's easy, isn't it?
What Spice?
I think Sporty.
Yeah.
She was the only one that could sing. Really. I don't want to malign the rest of them, but I think she was mainly the only one that could sing. Plus, she had good tracksuits. What's not to love?
KD, was Sporty Spice your favourite?
Like what's the Beckham? What's her name?
Yeah, she was Posh Spice.
Yeah, I like that one. She was more my
okay, the one that couldn't sing. Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, come on, we didn't watch them because they could sing. I mean, come on, let's be real.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So let me have a look. Have we got any more questions? So what's next for you, MA? Michelle, what are you working on now?
I'm just about at the end, like a week or two away from the end of book 3, which is due imminently in. So that I'll be working on and editing that and trying to get that to publication. I think it's August of next year that's due to be published. And then I'm not sure if I might not take a small break, because these 3 books were all written very close together. They were sort of, because I don't know what I'm doing. I wrote 3 half books, or 3 2/3 of books, and then just decided to finish one and send it off. And then I said, I could do that with the other 2 as well then, not realizing how much work that was. So I think I might just quite like a little break after that, maybe. I would like to read. You know, when you write, you just can't read. I've got so many books that I need to read.
I have a
I was I couldn't read whilst I'm writing, but actually I think because I take such a long time over writing now, there was a time when I was writing an entire novel in 40 days, which was insane. But I think at the moment I'm actually kind of managing it. I don't know why or how it's happening. Maybe it's because I'd forgotten how many to be read books I have, and suddenly I've remembered and seen them and gone, oh yeah, I need to read those. So yeah, I don't know.
I've read very little, I would say, in the last 2 months. I've been working really hard on this book and I've missed it, actually. I have missed it. Yeah.
Well, taking a break is always sensible for all of your health, especially if you're feeling like you've been very busy. Yeah, that sounds very sensible to me. Cool. KD, have you got any more questions for Michelle?
I do not. I mean, you know, I'm a type of reader, actually. I don't like sweet, but I would read your book. When you started reading, I was like, oh, that's sweet. But I was like, I would read that. I would totally read that.
There are moments of sweetness, and there's a little bit of dark in there. There might be a little more.
See? Grit. I like grit. Yeah.
I think it's interesting for me as well that because I have an editor, obviously we all have editors, but I had to fight to hold on to bits of this book. You know, I think that we think that the world has moved past the idea of pop stars having to be closeted, because we have Hayley Kiyoko, and we have Sam Smith, and we have all these sort of fairly big stars, LGBTQ. I think if you're in a girl band, or if you're a teeny heartthrob like Shawn Mendes or someone like that, I think the idea that you could be queer is just still very much beyond the pale. So the idea that and there's a lot of talk, you know, how valid it is. I'm not going to mention names, about the fact that many pop stars still are very closeted, and like sports people would find it really hard to come out. It's kind of interesting to think that we still have that in 2020 or whatever it is, that we still have this sort of closet that we put people in. So I think the book it explores that as well. It's kind of interesting for me, that whole concept. Because we think we're past it, and I don't actually think we are.
I don't think we'll ever get past that. I don't. I mean, I'm hopeful, but like you said, you know, even with people like Sam Smith, you know, doing his thing, no matter what, there's still a stigma, you know, attached to it. And I'm not trying to get political by any means, but I think in this time period, there's even more of a stigma attached to it. So maybe in the next few years that'll, you know, clear up a little bit. I don't know. But I think the whole world has been just allowed to fester about a lot of things. So unfortunately, you know, I could see somebody, oh my God, I'm not going to say anything about my sexuality right now because, you know, people are going to hate me, you know, because they hate everything right now. So, yeah.
Interesting.
We've got one more question from Bev Joy, just to round off the session. Who are your favourite authors?
Wow, I have lots actually. And just by the way, Bev Joy, I saw you commenting before. My sister's name is Beverly Joy, so when I saw your name, it was just kind of interesting to me. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, Beverly Joy. I think that if I'm talking lesfic romance, I read Chris Bryant. I read Missouri Vaughan. I read, I mean, literally everything. I've read something by everybody. I've tried to. I mean, not everybody because there's too many, but I try and. I would always read a new Chris Bryant book. I would always read a new, Missouri Vaughan book or whatever. But there are other authors I dip into a lot. I read something by Monica McCallan, a couple of books by her in the last year, and I really liked them as well. So, all sorts. And if I'm not reading lesfic, then I like sort of big contemporary novelists. I read Margaret Atwood. I read Joyce Carol Oates. I might read Emma Donoghue. Sort of. Yeah, I like to read women's fiction written by women, but lots of different things. Yeah, not poetry, but
and Katie, who would you say your favourite authors are?
Megan O'Brien has always been a favorite of mine. Big time. Anything she writes, I'm like the first to get it, or or to beg for a author's copy, whatever you want to call it. I really like Anne Shade as well. I read some Jerry Hill, but I'm selective about which ones I like. But Jay, when I want a good slow burn, I'm just like, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, you just can't. One of the last books I read that had a huge impact was Requiem for Immortals. And I just read that recently. It's been a few months, I got around to reading that. And I really like that. To me, that's what I mean by romance. Well, I don't even think there was really a romance. I mean, but it had a nice edge and so many things going on with it. I kind of like that, type thing.
Excellent.
And I have a favorite narrator, so I'm just going to say it because I have like a little bit of a crush on her, Lisa Cordileone. And I went through a phase where I listened to a couple of her Lesfic romance reads, and then there's not many of them, but she's narrated a lot of other books. So I read a lot of other random books because she narrated them. It's kind of weird. It wasn't a great experiment, but I found out that my first book, One Small Step, is going to be made into an audiobook, which I'm really excited about. And I was secretly thinking, how could I contrive to make it? But it's I can't do anything about it. But, a little moment.
You never know.
Yeah, I know.
It on social media, maybe it'll happen.
That's right. She'll offer to do it for free, for fun.
Yeah. Right, thank you very much for all your words, readings and opinions. They've been really interesting. Thanks for watching, guys, and our next reading is 5:30, and it's Teresa Perkis and Fiona Z. So we shall see you then.
Right.